الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, this is lesson number 2 of our commentary on on our lesson that speaks about the Malikis from the Athari creed to the theological creed. So we're still speaking about how the situation was in North Africa and Andalusia, and how it was in the East, and how the Malikis in the beginning stood firm to the Athari creed. So most of the theological creeds were only in North Africa and Andalusia were only by some individuals that go to the East and come back with some new ideas, but they don't dare to spread it or write books about it or anything like that until we reach to the 4th and 5th century, Islamic century. So some Westerns, Maghrebians, went to the East and they started speaking about philosophy and theology. And these opinions and ideas started spreading and influencing Maghrebians. So we have three main travels that influenced the North Africans and Andalusians. We have first one is that there were Maghrebians that went they went to Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Hijaz, and stuff like that. And some reached until Khurasan and those lands. And they took from them some jurisprudence and creed and stuff like that. So we have Faraj ibn Salam al-Qurtubi from Cordoba. He met al-Jahid, the well-known literature. And he was Mu'tazili. He was a Mu'tazili person. And he took from him his books. And we have Abdullah ibn Masarrat ibn Najih, and Abu Bakr ibn Yahya ibn Sabina, and Ibrahim al-Qalanisi, Darras ibn Ismail. All these are from Qayrawan. They went to the East and they met many scholars there. No one of these met Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari himself. And no one took from him theology because they didn't meet him. But there are some Maghrebians that met some of his students, like Abi Abdullah ibn Mujahid al-Ta'i, and he was a Maliki scholar. He was very pious and righteous. So Abu Bakr Ismail ibn Ishaq ibn Udhra and Muhammad ibn Khaldun doesn't have anything to do with Ibn Khaldun that we know. Maybe he's from his sisters, I don't know. And these are two students of Imam ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani. So they met Abu Bakr, they met Abu Abdullah ibn Mujahid, and they met many other scholars in Iraq. And they took from him, and Ibn Mujahid asked them to give him ijaza of their teacher, Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, rahimahullah, which is the summary of Mudawwarat al-Imam Suhnun. And he sent to them his ijaza with his students to Ibn Mujahid. And we have Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Mawhab, who was a student of Imam ibn Abi Zayd as well. He is the grandfather of Imam Abi Walid al-Baji from his mother. We have Hakam ibn Mundhir al-Balluti. Both of these are Andalusian. And from Cordoba, they went to the East. Now, the greatest person, or the greatest scholars from the Ash'aris that influenced the Maghrebians are three. القاضي أبو بكر محمد بن الطيب الباقلاني, الحافظ أبو ذر الهروي, and الأستاذ أبو المعالي الجويني. These are, or Imam al-Haramain they call them, these are the three Ash'aris that influenced the Maghribians. Now the first one, Abu Bakr ibn Tayyib al-Baqillani, the great judge, he was Maliki. All these were, both of them were Malikis except Imam al-Haramain, he was Shafi'i. So we have the first one. Many Maghribians took from him and were influenced by him. And his books, like Tamheed, was commented by Abu al-Qasim Abdul Jalil al-Rabi al-Qayrawani. And he called his book At-Tasdeed fi Sharh Tamheed. It's published, I have it here in my library, alhamdulillah. And that was in the mid-5th century. Now, Abu Dhar al-Harawi actually used to live in Mecca. He's originally from Herat in Khurasan, which is now Afghanistan. And he used to teach there al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari. And so many people, they used to come, they used to take from him Sahih al-Bukhari, and they got influenced by his opinions. It's so strange that he's originally from Herat, and he's Maliki. No Malikis are there. And he's Ash'ari. No Ash'aris were there. Khurasan in that era, most people there were either Hanafis, as they are until now, or from Ahl Hadith, as there are many muhaddithun, people of Hadith there as well. There were lots of Shafi'is as well. But to say that there Ash'aris, Malikis, it was so strange. So there was, somebody asked Al-Hafiz Abu Dhar al-Harawi, where did you get these two opinions from? So he said, I was in Baghdad with Al-Hafiz Ad-Daraqutni rahimahullah. All of a sudden he met a person and he honored him a lot. I told him, who is this guy that you honored him a lot? He said, did you know who is this guy? He said, I didn't know that. He said, he is the sword of the Sunnah, Sayf al-Sunnah, Al-Hafiz, Al-Ustad Abu Bakr ibn Tayyib al-Baqillani. So I went to him and I adopted his opinions. You have to adopt the opinions of your professor, Daraqutni, rahimahullah. But he went and he adopted. He said, I took from him his creed, Ash'ari, and I took from him his fiqh, Malik. But to be honest, that Al-Hafiz Abu Dhar al-Harawi was from the great old Ash'aris that were Sunnis. They had some few problems in specific things, but in general, they used to follow the Sunnah. They used to defend all of the Sunni creed. They used to defend the main Sunni creed. So the third one is Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni, Imam al-Haramain. His books spread a lot in North Africa and in the Maghreb and Andalusia, and especially with Al-Qadi Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi al-Mu'afir, rahimahullah. Now, al-Baqillani, many people came and listened from him and studied with him from North Africa, like Abu Imran al-Fasi, Abu Tahir al-Baghdadi, al-Husayn ibn Hatim al-Adhari, who he was sent by him to Qayrawan, and he's originally from Azerbaijan, it seems from his name. And Abu Amr al-Dani, the great Imam of Andalus, that is originally from Dinia, and he wrote a lot of books, especially in his Quranic studies, where until now, Morocco, North Africa's published their books, their masahif, according to the teachings of Al-Imam Al-Hafiz Abi Amr al-Dani, rahimahullah. These Maghribians heard from Imam al-Baqallani and studied with him, and they had other students that took from them knowledge, like Abdul Jalil al-Rabi al-Qayrawani, who didn't meet al-Baqallani, but he met who met him. Abu Dhar al-Harawi, who lived for decades in Mecca and spread Sahih Bukhari there, many people from Maghreb heard from him. And they used to go to him and listen and hear Sahih Bukhari, because he had a good isnad to Imam Bukhari. And he was very neat in his teachings. So we have Abu Imran al-Fasi, Abu al-Walid al-Baji, Makki ibn Abi Talib al-Qaysi. All these took from Imam al-Hafiz Abi Dhar al-Harawi rahimahullah. Now for al-Juwayni, many Maghribians heard from him, like Ibn Abi Hamzata al-Andalusi, Muhammad al-Mayawraqi, Abu al-Qasim al-Mu'afiri, and some of his students went to Maghreb teaching, or to North Africa teaching, like Abu Nasr Sahel ibn Uthman al-Naysaburi. And then Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi al-Mu'afiri rahimahullah, the judge of Seville, went with his father seeking knowledge before he became judge, and he met the student, the students of al-Juwayni. The main student of al-Juwayni is Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali rahimahullah, Hujjatul Islam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. And he didn't meet al-Juwayni himself, but he took his knowledge and started spreading it in North Africa. Don't forget that these are two pillars of the Ash'ari creed, the latest Ash'ari creed, if I could call it. Because the first Ash'aris were similar to the Atharis. There isn't a big difference. But when we reach to al-Juwayni and al-Ghazali, now it started becoming different from the path of the Atharis. And they started rejecting many things that the Atharis used to see it as pillars of their teachings. In North Africa and the Maghreb, until this era, the whole idea of the theologists wasn't clear there, which means that you don't have a scholar that speaks about a complete theological theory. No. You find them Atharis, sometimes they go and say something that is similar to the theologists, and then they go back to the Athari creed. They're between this and this. It's not clear. And therefore, and this is, subhanAllah, by the way, this is going to happen vice versa in the last century, when many Moroccans or North Africans are going to adopt again the Athari creed, but they're going to have this problem between these two problems. So therefore, the Ash'aris started spreading in North Africa and Maghreb. And Imam Ibn Hazm says, when he's speaking about the last 5th century, that the Ash'aris, not the last, the mid, because he passed away in the mid 5th century. He says that the Ash'aris started spreading a lot in Sicily and Qayrawan, and then it started disappearing again. So therefore, the first one to get, the first people that brought the Athari, the theological creed to North Africa, people didn't accept it from them. They considered it as a bad theology, or something that is against the authentic theology. So we find that Ibn Hazm condemned it strongly, and he called it the cursed creed. And we have a poem by Abu Muhammad Abdullah al-Qahtani al-Andalusi, who wrote a very harsh creed against the Ash'aris. And he called them zanadiqa, he called them bad words, actually. And Abdul what is his name? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This historical that wrote a history about North Africa's history. المعجب في أخبار المغرب. المعجب في تلخيص أخبار المغرب. That means the strange book that summarizes the news about North Africa or Maghreb, which can be Morocco or all North Africa, by عبد الواحد ibn Ali التميمي التميمي الأندلسي or التميمي عبد الواحد المراكشي, yes. So this guy says in his book that the people of Maghreb or Morocco or North Africa, in the beginning, they used to consider anyone that speaks with theology as a deviant, a non-Muslim, not Muslim. And now that's what he says, yes. And actually, there were many people who used to ask scholars, are we allowed to curse the Ash'aris? Are we allowed to insult them? As Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani was asked, and after him, Ibn Rushd was asked the same question, and he said, no, you're not allowed to say that. Even if they have some mistakes or stuff like that, they defended Islam, they defended the Sunnah, they did a good job, so you can't curse them. So they went seeing what is good in the Ash'aris, not the bad one. So this is what Sheikh is saying in his Sheikh al-Tarifi, as I'm now translating what Sheikh Tarifi is saying. I'm summarizing and translating what Sheikh Tarifi is saying in his introduction to his commentary on the Qayrawani Creed, which is called Al-Maghribiyya. Okay, now the beginning, the ancestors of the Malikis, they used to prove the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as it is understood from the language. And they say the way it is, it's something that we don't know. This is called tafweedul kayf. What does tafweed mean? The word tafweed means I don't know, I give it back to you. That means they give it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one who knows, we don't know. Now, there are two kinds of tafweed. There are tafweed al-ma'na, which means we don't understand the meaning, and there's tafweed al-kayf, which means we don't know how the meaning is. We understand the meaning. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about, when He says, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَسْجُدَ لِمَا خَلَقْتُ بِيَدَيَّ, what prevented you to prostrate to whom I created with my two hands? The Atharis believe that this is clear, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam with his two hands. But how are the hands? We don't know. They don't know. So they translate this word, what prevented you from prostrating to whom I created with my two hands? Now the Mufawwida could not translate it. They're going to say, what prevented you from prostrating to whom I created with yaday? They're going to leave it as it is because they don't know what does it mean. You can't translate a word that you don't know what it means. This is the exact difference between these two opinions. Okay, and these, yes, so they used to believe in this, and their enemies used to call them hashwiya. What does hashwiya mean? Hashu means that when you just put something and you're just stuffing something. Hashu, you're stuffing something. That means they stuff their books with words that they don't know what does it mean. Imagine you're stuffing something in a bag. That means you're just putting anything inside the bag. That's what the theologists used to call the Sunnis. They are hashwiya, stuffers that use words that they don't understand what does it mean. And therefore, uh, as years pass and go, and we become far from the days of the Salaf radiallahu anhum, the theological opinions start growing and growing, and vice versa. The Athari creed starts shrinking. Now, the second way, because I told you the first way, how the theological opinions transferred from the east to the west. Now, the second way, how the theological opinions transferred from the east to the west, is that the eastern books started coming to the west with people, with scholars, with booked sailors, stuff like that, as we have nowadays. So some Mu'tazilites used to claim that he's Maliki, and he was in Iraq, and he used to send messages to the people of North Africa, telling them that, yeah, you have to follow the Mu'tazilites' opinions and stuff like that. He used to preach. And there was a guy called Ali ibn Ahmad al-Baghdadi. He sent a message from Iraq, from Baghdad to Qayrawat, and he told them, I ask you to become Mu'tazilites. So they went so, and he claimed that this is the opinion of Imam Malik, because he knows that these guys respect Imam Malik. So he says, I'm gonna trick them by this idea. So when his message reached to North Africa, to Qayrawan, scholars of Qayrawan they went nuts, they went crazy. They said, what is this guy saying? And they started writing books against him, like Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, who wrote Al-Raddu al-Qadariyah. So he wrote a book against these Mu'tazilites. Now, some of the books of Ibn Mujahid started coming to North Africa. Ibn Mujahid was a direct student of Al-Imam Ibn Abi Zayd, Ibn Hassan al-Ash'ari, as I told you. And he had a very interesting book called Uqud Ahl al-Sunnah. That means the beliefs of Ahl al-Sunnah. And actually, it's published decades ago. I remember I read it a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago I read it. It's published as a book of Abu al-Hasan al-Ash'ari, الرسالة إلى أهل الثغر باب الأبواب. الرسالة إلى أهل الثغر. It's message for the people of the borders. باب الأبواب. باب الأبواب is a city. I think it's in Azerbaijan now. So they asked him to write a book about the Sunni creed. So he wrote this book. When you read the book, you don't find any problems in it. It's a good creed. It follows the Sunnah, Al-Athar, etc. And Mujahid actually was a very pious person, by the way. Later on I'll speak about him, inshallah, because I'm summarizing what Sheikh Abdulaziz Tarifi says, and then I'll give you what I said, inshallah. So this book actually, nowadays it was published again, but it's published recently actually by the name of Ibn Mujahid, rahimahullah. Now the third way is that some Easterns came to the West. And these were only few guys, because usually, who's going to come to the East, to the West? Usually people of the West come to the East because there's Mecca and Medina, there are lots of universities of knowledge, etc. But North Africa, they always take from the East, not the Easterns come to them. What is an Eastern person going to come to do in Maghreb in that era, not nowadays, in that era? So therefore, there was here Hussein ibn Hatim al-Adhari. Ibn Hatim al-Adhari, I mentioned him before, but this guy wasn't so smart and clever and capable to spread any opinion. So therefore, he was strong in grammar, and he used to correct his teacher Abu Bakr ibn Tayyib al-Baqillani's books. Now, actually, in North Africa, there were Mu'tazilites, especially in Al-Qayrawan. And they were strong a little bit because they had some authority by becoming judges, especially in the Aghlabi dynasty. And the Aghlabi dynasty was part of the Abbasid dynasty. And what happened in Baghdad happened in North Africa. So in the days of Mamun and his brother Al-Mu'tasim and then his son Al-Wathiq, they started trying people and asking them and forcing them to become Mu'tazila. So here, actually, Maimonides in his book Dala'il al-Ha'irin, I mentioned this book before. This book was written in Arabic. He wrote it in Arabic. I don't know is it translated to English or not, but he wrote it in Arabic, and he mentions the meaning of Dala'il al-Ha'irin means the signs of the confused person. That means, or the evidence for the confused person, or something like that. Which means that he wrote it to show many things that are in the Bible, make people confused. And actually, he adopted the Mu'tazili creed. He adopted Mu'tazili creed. He says in this book that theology, in the way of the Mu'tazilites, started between Muslims in North Africa, in the Maghreb. When I say Maghreb, I mean Andalusia too. Before the Ash'ari creed came. And the Jews in Andalusia adopted the Mu'tazili creed from that. And this is true. Maimonides, Musa ibn Maymun al-Qurtubi, he was Mu'tazili in his creed. Subhanallah al-Azim. And I discovered that when I saw his opinions in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in al-Qada' wal-Qadar and many things. So actually, he implemented the Mu'tazili creed on the Bible. It's just so strange, subhanAllah. And therefore, now after we saw this, and after understanding how the opinions started spreading, what was the opinion and the idea of scholars of the Malikis in North Africa and Andalusia towards the Ash'ari creed that came, or the theological creed that came? To be honest, many scholars praised the leaders of the Ash'ari school. Why? Because there was a big debate between Mu'tazilites and Sunnis. And they saw that these Ash'aris were the strongest Sunnis that defeated the Mu'tazilites. So we find that Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani praised Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari and his school, although he's not from the people of theology, actually. And he used to warn people from following theological opinions. But he praised them because of their statements, their good statements. And because they defeated the Mu'tazilites, he spoke good about them. He said about Abu Hassan Ash'ari, when the Mu'tazilites spoke bad about him, he said he's a famous person, he's a famous man, and he defeated the people, the innovators, the Mu'tazilites and the Jahmis, and he stood firm on the Sunnah. And this is what he said about Ibn Kullab, Abdullah ibn Sa'id ibn Kullab, Abu Muhammad, Abdullah, or Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Sa'id ibn Kullab. I think it's Abu Muhammad or Abu Abdullah ibn Sa'id ibn Kullab, and he is like the professor or the influencer of Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari. And this is a normal thing. When you have a big deviant and somebody who is following the truth but he has mistakes and he's defeating him, of course you're going to be with the one that is closer to the Sunnah, or the one that defends Sunnah, even if he has mistakes. So this is actually the case. This is what happened. So scholars of Sunnah used to defeat the enemies of the Sunnah, praise anyone who's against them. This is what Imam Shaykh al-Islam Abu Uthman Sabuni rahimahullah, who has a great book of Sunni creed, and he used to speak good about Abu Mansur al-Baghdadi, who was an Ash'ari, and he was a theologist, because he used to defeat the Mu'tazilites, and he did a good job about that. So the same thing, what happened with Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani and Abu Hassan al-Qabisi and others, great Imams, Maliki Imams, who were in North Africa. Imam Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, he used to praise the way of Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad, and he used to say about Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal is a great Imam that we follow. And he rejected this, something that he was speaking about. And anything Ahmad ibn Hanbal rejects, we reject it. That's it. So this means that he used to praise a lot Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and praise a lot the way of Imam Malik rahimahullah. So because of what Imam Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani said about Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, some people thought that he was Ash'ari. That's not true. And this is, subhanAllah, this was an old saying. Abu Nasr al-Waili al-Sijzi rahimahullah, in his book الرد على من أنكر الحرف والصوت, who was speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's speeches, and that it is with letters and voice in the way that suits the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was in the beginning of the 5th century. He said in his message that there are some Maghribians that used to say good things about the Ash'aris, like Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani and Abu Hassan al-Qabisi. And these are Imams of Sunnah. And we read what Imam Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani said in his Risala and his Jami', and other books, and what Abu Hassan al-Qabisi said in his belief. So this doesn't mean that these are Ash'aris. Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani proves all the attributes of Allah, and he speaks very good about all the Sunni creed. He defends it as it is. After that, the Maghribians started writing some books about the Sunni creed. And we started having, days by days, theology started spreading. And some scholars that used to follow the Sunnah in the 4th and 5th century said some words that seem as the Ash'aris or others that he used to say, or it follows some of their branches of their opinions, but it's not a general case. So we started finding that there were scholars that defeated the innovators and wrote books like Muhammad ibn Suhnun. He wrote a book against the Mu'tazilites. Yahya ibn Umar al-Kindi, he wrote a book against the Murji'ah, and he spoke about seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the weight in the judgment day, which is all against the Mu'tazilites. Abu Uthman al-Haddad, he wrote books, Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani and others. Others wrote a book about the Sunni creed, like Muslim ibn al-Qasim al-Qurtubi. Abu al-Qasim has a very beautiful book. It's small, but it's published nowadays. And he showed the Sunnah. And he passed away before Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani. And many of his opinions are mentioned by Imam ibn Abi Zamanin in his book Usul al-Sunnah, by the way. Most Maghribians in the 3rd and 4th century used to follow Imam Malik in all the religion. The creed, the jurisprudence, everything. They say Malik said, Malik said, Malik said. They just know Malik, rahimahullah. And they used to follow Imam Malik in everything in their life, as if their life was all Maliki, everything Maliki. So therefore, they used to stand firm in all what Imam Malik says. I believe actually what made the opinions of the Ash'ari spread in North Africa is that Ibn al-Baqillani was Maliki. Abu Dharr al-Harawi was Maliki as well. So they said, okay, these are our guys. Maybe, this is what I think. The beginners, the Malikis actually were two groups. The first group were the ones that heard directly from Imam Malik. Imam Malik used to praise them and love them, like Abdullah ibn Farrukh al-Farisi al-Qayrawani. Imam Malik used to honor him a lot, and he used to say this is the jurist of the Moroccans, of the Maghribians. Bahlul ibn Rashid, he was a very pious person. Abu Hassan Ali ibn Ziyad al-Tunisi, rahimahullah, the great, he has a muwatta. He narrated, he has a muwatta, it's published. Actually, it's not completed, we have just part of it. And Abu Sa'id ibn Yunus al-Misri, the historian that spoke about the history of North Africa, says he is the first one who entered Muwatta, Imam Malik and Jami' Sufyan, to North Africa. And he's the one who taught them the Maliki opinions, and they didn't used to know that. And he visited Hijaz, Iraq, seeking knowledge. And he is the professor of Suhnun. Suhnun used to say, no one is better than Ali ibn Ziyad al-Tunisi, rahimahullah. And he mentions him a lot in his Mudawwana. He mentions his name and his opinions there. And from this dynasty, from this stage of history, we have Abdullah ibn Ghanim al-Qayrawani. Imam Malik used to love him and honor him a lot. And the students of Imam Malik, when they used to see him with Imam Malik, they used to feel a bit jealous of him. They say, well, this Moroccan guy or this Maghribian guy made him busy. We need to have some time with him. And when he went back to North Africa, he became a judge there, and he sent to Imam Malik. Imam Malik told his students that our student became a judge in North Africa, and he was so proud of that. We have Al-Ghaz ibn Qais al-Umawi, al-Qurtubi, Siqlab ibn Ziyad al-Hamdani al-Qayrawani, Abu Ja'far, Musa ibn Muawiyah al-Sumaduhi. All these are great students of Imam Malik in Andalusia and North Africa. Asad ibn Furat, the judge that conquered Sicily, and he was killed there as a martyr, rahimahullah. Isa ibn Dinar al-Qurtubi, Abbas ibn Walid al-Farisi al-Tunisi, Abu Mas'ud ibn Ashras al-Tunisi. All these names are great names of great Imams. All these guys listened and heard from Imam Malik rahimahullah, and they adopted his opinions and got it to North Africa and spread it there. They only narrate Sunnah and Athar. They don't know anything else except Sunnah and Athar, and they used to hate any theological statements and opinions, and they used to be against anybody who gives his opinion against the Sunnah. And they were like that in their creed, in their fiqh, in all, everything. And that's why when Asad ibn Furat heard that Bishr al-Marisi wrote a book about Tawheed, he said, did people lose Tawheed so this guy can write a book about Tawheed? This guy is pretending that he's a prophet. And they used to know where the sources of the innovations that come from the East. Ibn Abi Hassan, student of Imam Malik, rahimahullah, he used to say about people who say that there's somebody better than Abu Bakr and Umar. He says, this is not the religion of Quraysh, not the religion of Arabs. This is the religion of people from Qum. He means the Shia. He means the Shia. So let's stop here, inshallah, and continue next time. Thank you very much for being patient with me. Alhamdulillah, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Barakallahu fikum.